You ready? Ma'am, we're going to start. Ma'am, we're going to start. Could you please sit down? Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Cliff Weiner. I'm president of the POA. First on our agenda is the pledge to the flag and remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and military personnel. Thank you. Please be seated. Next is the Reber. Are you going to read the minutes? No? Okay. We're going to skip the minutes and the treasurer report tonight. One of the things I do is if we have any officials or supervisors from other districts or boards here, I like to introduce them so you know who represents you. And at the back, our secretary, Reb Benson's on the AAC. And I don't think I see another supervisor, but the District 4 can hold. I know, Joan. District 4 can hold a board meeting because we have a quorum here. We have 3 supervisors from District 4. Mark Hayes is here, Don Deacon is here, and I am on the District 4 board also. So thank you guys for coming. No business. We're not going to violate any sunshine laws. At the back table are our friends from Seniors versus Crime, Realty Exec, Suncool, and Rate. Let me ask you a question. How many people were here last month for our 50th anniversary and our expo? Wow, great. It was a great turnout. Those that you didn't come, missed it. Our grand prize winner won a lightning protection system for her house, and I believe she's sitting here. Raise your hand. So she got it. Joan Testa won the TV. And we have a 50, and the other prizes were all delivered and claimed. The only thing we haven't given away is, so it's the person that had the winning 50-50 ticket here. Do you have the ticket? You want to bring it up? I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, and here's your $250.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All in, that's a relief off my mind. I've been holding that money for a month, and I was hoping you would show up or at least call so that I know somebody was there. I had pulled other tickets in case she wasn't, just so you know. We were going to give it to somebody. But you guys missed a great event. We had a great turnout, probably close to 500 people, and this place was packed. So if we do it again, hopefully more people will take the opportunity to come. Some of the giveaways, we had some bags that have the POA on one side and K2 Medical on the other side. Feel free to take as many as you want. We got lots left. Unfortunately, I bought a lot more than I should. Yes, ma'am. I hope not, but I don't know. I won't be here, so I don't think. So, in fact, I'm positive. So, I just want to say that when you talk at this meeting, you need to have somebody come with a microphone because our meetings are live streamed and video recorded. We post a video on our website probably tomorrow morning, and you can go back and look at it, and it'll be on YouTube tomorrow also. So please, so that everybody can hear, speak into a microphone, and some of our supervisors our board members will come with the mic. Next on the agenda is November is our election of officers for next year. So Len Hathaway has been doing this for us as long as I've been president, and I've been president for 10 years. So I know he's been doing this for at least 10 years. So Len.
Okay, thank you, Cliff. As Cliff mentioned, tonight is the annual election of officers. We appreciate you attending tonight's meeting, both members and residents. At this time, as part of the POA bylaws, we are holding elections for POA officers and directors. The process requires the input of POA members, and when I ask for that, we'll have two motions. The POA slate of officers for next year, 2006, Reb Benson, you guys coming up? Vice President Dan Warren, not here. Treasurer temporarily is Cliff, and Secretary is Karen O'Farrell. The Board of Directors, Tita Dumagasa, she's not here. Ken Nodal, Gary Search is here, and Gary Cato. He's not here. Okay. At this time, are there any nominations from the floor? Seeing none, I request a motion and a second to close nominations. Motion has been made. Has anybody seconded? Seconded? Okay. All in favor of closing nominations that are members, say aye. Okay. Thank you. Say again? Okay, is that in order for? Okay, the motion is made for a unanimous ballot. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, it's unanimous. At this time, I request a motion to elect the announced candidates as officers and directors of the POA for 2026. Seeking a motion. So moved. Okay, any seconds? It's been seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Your induction will take place in January membership meeting. This concludes the election process for the POA membership. Thank you for your support, and thank all of these people for donating their time for the benefit of all of us.
Thank you, Len. First time in 10 years I haven't been up here standing here going to be president. Feels really good. I got to tell you, it's been a lot of work for the last 10 years. Next on the agenda is, I want to talk about our shredding event. On March 21st, 2026 at New Covenant Methodist Church, we'll be having our 7th annual shredding event. You need a ticket, and let me explain some things, because you need to be a paid member as of the date. Your dues need to be current as of the date of the shredding event, which is March 21st. So if your dues expire March 1st, you need to renew before I can send you a ticket, just so we get that off the table. I will tell you that in the first 17 days, I've issued over 200 tickets. If you, oh yeah, this is a popular event. We shred about 44,000 pounds of paper every year, and have been doing that for the last, this will be our 7th year. If you're a member, if you're not a member, become a member. You're more than welcome to come. The lines are long, but move really, really quickly. We've got it down to a science after all of this time. So if you're interested in the ticket, don't wait until the last second, because as soon as 1,000 tickets are sold or accounted for, I close it. So we got about 785 left to go. They're going to go fast. This is only 17 days that I've been sending out tickets. You need to send an email to me, and it needs to be sent, and it's in the magazine, it's on our website. It needs to go to poashredding87@gmail.com. If you do it any other way, it's not going to work. I need to have a method to keep all of those requests separate so that they don't get deleted, that I can find them when people lose their tickets. I can go, which happens every single year, I can go back and give you another ticket. So just let's try to do it that way and make it easier on me, and we'll have a great event again. So just remind you, and we will remind you every month until the event, or it's sold out or closed. Also, on January 8th, at Everglades Rec Center, we're going to hold our first bingo night. Instead of a meeting, we're going to have bingo. We're going to try something different. There'll be lots of information in the magazine that's coming out on the first of the month. By the way, now that we have a new magazine and I don't have to rely on a printer and printing schedules, we're at our schedule. On the first of every month, the email goes out that sends out the magazines to those that want it. So if you haven't signed up for it, or you don't get it and you want it because you're not getting a bulletin thrown in your driveway anymore, they're not going to get blown all over the street. They're not going to get wet, and I'm not going to get 500 phone calls about bulletins laying all over. Because it was the quietest month I've ever had as far as delivery in November, which was really nice. So just send me an email or go online yourself. If you have an account and you haven't changed your password, you need to do that. Because when we transferred the data that we had on our old database to the new, I can transfer everything, but I can't transfer passwords because I didn't know what they were. So just let me know. I can send you a link that will let you reset your password. And you can do anything you want on our website. You need to try to do that just to make it easier for all of us. So if you have any questions, see me after the meeting and I can explain it a little bit better, I guess. Oh, God, I gave away the winning raffle ticket. How many of you guys? Okay, now's the time for open forum. Open forum is where we will try to answer any question you might have, except questions that might pertain to Dr. Young, because we'll take his questions after his presentation. So does anybody have a question? Raise your hand, and Gary will come around with a mic. Wow, we're getting good. Oh, right. Okay.
No, wait, hold it. Got to speak to the mic so it's picked up.
I'm in therapy right now. I hate to move.
No,
Okay.
just speak to
All right. Did you mention the time for the bingo?
The bingo will start doors open at 6:30. And all that information will be in the magazine and on our website come December 1st.
Hi, my name is Nancy Fallon, and congratulations on the 50 years. That's pretty impressive. I'm here tonight to ask if, as the new committee comes up, if you guys could assign an advocate for myself and the Phillips Villa team. I'm really trying to get as many people to kind of help us in our pursuit to do the best that we can with a very bad situation with the new Walmart coming in off of Mulberry Lane. We can't change the zoning, it's coming in. But what we'd like to do is to try to make sure traffic and safety of all our residents, especially all of us who use Mulberry Lane, and it's trying to work through the villages is a very complicated thing. So if the committee could maybe assign me an advocate that could help with the team, Cliff being one of them, that would be amazing. And Don Deacon has been incredible for us. But I look at your POA and it says independent organization devoted to home ownership experience. The POA functions as a watchdog organization overseeing the actions of the developer and our local government, has no ties or obligations to the developer of the villages which might compromise the POA position or its advocacy for residents' rights. Thank you.
Yes. And we will not talk about that or address it. As I said, there are 3 District 4 board members, supervisors in this room, which would violate sunshine laws, And if you want to see me after the meeting, that's fine. Anybody else? Okay. Let me just, we got a few things. Next month, December's meeting, we're gonna try something different again, a little bit anyways. To start the meeting off, we're gonna have some of the Rolling Acre Elementary School choir children here to sing 15 or 20 minutes of Christmas carols, so we can make a donation to them. That's really, really, really a poor school, and they need all the help they can get. They perform for other groups that I belong to, and they really do a nice job, and it's Christmas time. And then one of our directors, Gary Cato, who's the founder of SOS, is gonna do a presentation on SOS, which will be afterwards. The kids will be before the meeting. We'll start at 7 o'clock, and so we can get them out of here and then go home and not be up past their bedtime. In January, like I said, at Everglades, we have bingo. Here in January, we have Matt Armstrong from Community Standards. He's going to talk about some of the changes that are coming to ARC and Community Standards. Some of them are really good, too. And then in February, Bruce Brown's going to be here talking about the new water meters that are being installed throughout the villages, which is a huge, huge, huge project. And then in March, we have our favorite person, Cheryl Chestnut from the Villages Hospital will be here. And we'll see if the things she said last year have improved. We do this every year. She's been coming for a while. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to our speaker, Dr. Young, who has been here a couple times before. Thank you, Doctor.
First of all, I realize that it must be cold because when I came up in, I think, July, traffic was easy. Like, where did everybody come from? Can you hear me okay? All right. For those of you who don't know, I'm John Young. I am not 7 feet tall. I am 6'6". I play a lot of tennis. I played tennis in university. And went off to school a few years ago, decided I wanted to be a doctor. And I said, I want to cure sickness and disease. They must have liked it because I got accepted. Did my residency at Marshall University, Huntington, West Virginia, the VA there. And there's always situations in all our lives where something just really grabs you or changes you and changes your course of life or career or whatever. We've all had those things. And I was in the intensive care unit waiting for a patient. We gave him some medicine. We're getting ready to put a tube in his lungs. He has bad lung disease. And I'm with my chief resident. And I said, Robert, you ever notice that there's about 60 veterans that keep the Huntington VA going? They're in for 2 weeks, they're home for 2 weeks, they're in for 2 weeks, they're home for 2 weeks. They never get better. What if, these are my exact words, what if we tried something really wild and tried to get these guys better? And Robert said, Young, you want to finish your residency? Yep. Then you shut up and you do what everybody else does. So I just zipped it, and I finished my residency, and I did what everybody else did. But it always bugged me. I went into medicine to get people better, and for a large percentage of my patients, especially with chronic conditions, all I did was kind of slow the progress to death. The average St. Petersburg, Florida senior citizen is on about 25 prescription meds. And that's, I think, our idea of getting people better. As someone said to my mother, who was 92, Dottie, you need to go see the doctor. Why? You're not on any medicine. Something is wrong. And that's what we come to think. You've got to be on something. It's just normal. So I worked as an emergency physician for about 15 years. And after 15 years, I was just sick of this. I liked, being able to sew a bad laceration up, start a heart, whatever. But for a lot of the stuff, the diabetes, the chest pain, we never got anybody better. We just slowed your progress and gave you more meds. So I was about ready to just say, I've got to get another career. And then I talked to a guy, and he got me thinking, and I decided that I'm not going to do the drug model. If I need it, I will do it. But I'm going to go back to first year medicine, which was genetics, physiology, biochemistry. And I'm going to treat the way the guys did in the 1850s, early 1900s. I have a bunch of hanging in my office of prescriptions from the 1885s from an old pharmacy in a building in New York City, and they were tearing it down and came across this. And it was like hawthorn root, golden seed extract. And every doctor had his way of treating the flu or rheumatoid arthritis or whatever. And you would take that prescription to the pharmacist, and he would pull out Young's prescription for the flu, and he would make it and give it to the patient. Dr. Smith would have his prescription because back then there was no insurance, and you had to work to get your patient better, because if they didn't get better, they were going to another doctor. Here in America, the doctors have it easy. Humana gives them 500 patients or whatever. You probably aren't going to go anywhere else. And you keep going, and you get used to this idea of, yeah, dear, he gave me some more medicine. And that other medicine that was causing me to itch, he gave me a medicine for the itching. So now I can, you guys know about that? Oh, shoot. So I decided I'm going to go back to the basics. And I remember my first patient, an 83-year-old lady who decided at 83 that she wanted to get better. Why at 83? She was on about 20 different prescriptions. She had high blood pressure, GERD, diabetes type 2, and congestive heart failure. Mild, but congestive heart failure. So she brought in her labs. I asked her a couple questions. And I said, how much do you weigh? 150 pounds. What do you have for breakfast? Well, I have 2 eggs and a piece of sourdough toast. And what about for lunch? Oh, I make great tomato bisque soup. I have a lot of soups. And for dinner, well, I'll buy a large thigh, 4 ounces. I won't eat all of it, and a nice little salad. And that's kind of my food. Oh, and I make chocolate chip cookies, and she brought me in a couple. And I'll have one as a snack every day. So we sat down and we said, all right, you want to get off your meds. All right, here's how we're going to do it. In looking at your labs, I see that you have a high fasting insulin level. How many of you guys, does your doctor get a fasting insulin, not a glucose, an insulin level on you? Gee whiz. Okay. Federal government has said to all doctors, you need to get a fasting insulin level because you're going to pick up diabetes, metabolic syndrome, hypertension years before it ever happens. No one does it. Her fasting insulin level was 15. You want it about 4 or 5. If you look at your LabCorp tests, the range is 3 to 26. It is normal. That is not normal. If you have a 26, your belly's going to be out to here. So, when I see a high fasting insulin, I know that they have poor protein intake. That's the cause of diabetes 2. Diabetes 2 is a dietary disease because insulin shows you that you don't get enough protein. The average healthy person has a fasting insulin. Mine is 4. So I need 4 units of insulin to get 1 unit of glucose in the cell. She needs 15 units of glucose of insulin to get 1 unit of glucose in the cell. And insulin says store fat centrally. Binds hormones, binds neurotransmitters, causes tremendous amounts of problems. When you have high insulin, I guarantee you have high inflammation throughout your body. So I said, all right, at 150 pounds, you need about 60, 65 grams of protein a day. All right, this will be on the test, so write this down. So 1 egg is 8 grams of protein. And this is from Eads and Eads. They're out of University of Arkansas. I use their levels. And also Guyton textbook in medical physiology says the same thing. 1 egg is 8 grams of protein, 4 ounces of fish, chicken, giraffe, pork. I've had giraffe. Is 15 grams of protein. 8 ounces is 30, which is the most you can absorb at any one time. And I said, all right, you need more protein. So I said, do the 2 eggs. That's fine. If you want to do the sourdough bread, that's okay. For lunch, you need more protein. Tomato bisque soup does not have a lot of protein. So why don't you make a salad sometimes and put on maybe a can of tuna, 6 ounces, 25 grams of protein. All right, so now we're up to 40. And at dinner, why don't you have, instead of all these vegetables, which I like the vegetables, but you've got diabetes type 2. Why don't you increase your protein to about 5 ounces, which would be 20, 25 grams. There's your 60 grams of protein. Okay. Now, the other thing is she had high blood pressure. The 1998 Nobel Prize in Medicine won by the Americans, what was it given for? What? Not the normal blood pressure, but that's close. What they found out is this. When the muscles around an artery, they can make a gas called nitric oxide. When the muscles make nitric oxide, the blood vessels expand. When you expand a blood vessel, you drop the pressure. They found out that those muscles need 1 gram of protein for every 2.2 pounds of body weight. So I put her on, we raised her protein, and I said, don't stop any medicine yet. And about a week later, she calls us, oh, Dr. Young, I like your hair, and you remind me of my grandson, but I don't know about this program of yours because I feel so lightheaded. I just have no energy. Well, Mary, can you go check your blood pressure now? Okay. Comes back. It's 100 over 60. All right. So I think maybe you're on 3 blood pressure medications. Why don't we stop one of them? Thank you. She stops it. A week later, I get another call. Oh, Dr. Young, you're so wonderful. I just want to do your program, but I don't think I can do it anymore. I am so shaky. All right. What's your blood sugar? Well, I don't know. Well, can you check it? Okay. It's 88. She hasn't seen 88 in years. Maybe we should cut out maybe the metformin. Okay. 16 weeks to do all this. After 16 weeks, she's off all her prescription meds. Her blood sugar runs below 100 constantly. Her blood pressure is 135/85. Her reflux disease is gone. Because when a person complains of reflux, the first thing I think of is lack of protein. Because as you age, you guys are the exception, but as the other people out there age, you produce less hydrochloric acid. So the American pharmaceutical company, which I love because I have stock in their stuff, don't take it, but please keep buying those medicines because it helps me send my boys to college. But what the doctors give you is they give you omeprazole, Nexium, or whatever to stop the proton pumps. When Nexium first came out, my business partner and I, we called the company that makes Nexium and we said, listen, you do know that there's proton pumps all over the body, in the brain and the GI tract, all over. Do you think that if you stop the ones in the GI tract, you're going to, in the stomach, you're going to stop the ones anywhere else? Well, that's a good question. We haven't looked at that. Listen, if you take an antibiotic for an infected finger, do you think it's going to only go to the finger? It goes everywhere. So when you eat a lot of carbohydrates, the stomach makes hydrochloric acid because it's getting ready. Hydrochloric acid breaks down protein. If you don't give it protein, all this acid is just bouncing around there. It's bouncing up the esophagus, and you come in heartburn, chest pain, and you're in this big round circle race. The other problem with those omeprazoles, and I love this, I love medicine, I love talking to other doctors, is this. The body has to run the pH between about 7.1 and about 7.4. If you're taking Nexium, omeprazole, you lost those pumps. So you can't balance out stopping the acid in the stomach. You have to also stop the production of bicarb in the pancreas. So to balance out the pH, what does the body do? Go to the bones, take sodium, chloride, and water, and pulls out calcium also to balance out the pH. You keep taking calcium, and what happens to the bones? Doesn't work. Not very strong. So we keep giving him calcium, but it's a pH problem, and it never works. It's a pump problem. And you can take all the calcium you want, it doesn't reverse that. The way God designed it, it's all biochemistry. And so, just getting the protein up, after 12, 16 weeks, she's off her blood pressure medicine. She's off her diabetic medicine, and she doesn't have GERD because the protein's there to absorb the hydrochloric acid. All right. Now, she has some congestive heart failure. Cleveland Clinic, supposed to be the world's foremost for heart, years ago had a big problem. 40% of the people that underwent cardiac bypass developed congestive heart failure. So someone had the great idea, maybe because the stress of the surgery and their hearts aren't that great anyways, maybe we need to give the hearts a little bit of food. So the main sugar the heart uses is something called ribose. Heard of it? R-I-B-O-S-E. It's not cane sugar. So ribose is a deoxynucleotide sugar, but it's what the heart uses to make energy. So they started putting their patients on ribose, and their 40% congestive heart failure rate went to 0. So all I did is I just put her on ribose. And she had a poor ejection fraction. That came up to normal. Heart failure went away. No more fluid in the lungs. Swelling in the legs because she couldn't handle all the edema went away. And so just doing some basic, simple things, I turned a lady around that everybody else would have just said, all right, blood pressure still up. All right, here's a 4th drug. Or let's add some more, we'll start you on insulin. You know, and just looking at things since I'm a simple guy, from a simple viewpoint, basic biochemistry, you can turn a large percentage of these people around. And I talk to other doctors. Oh, John, come on. People are not going to follow that. You and I both know the patients are, they're kind of useless because this is the way they think of you guys. You know, they aren't going to follow anything. Well, I said to him, and he was my, I trained under him, my cardiology with him at the VA. So he's telling me this, and I'm saying, well, that's kind of interesting because I must get the 20% that really will change because I'm making a very nice practice out of it because they want to get better. They want off their meds. You know, and I have people said to me, John, if you give me another med, well, I had one lady come in and say, man, you are on 15 meds. Oh, John, I wrote that down. I stopped those meds 2 months ago. I would rather die feeling good than live feeling just terrible on all these meds. And I never knew that. I thought, just here, let's more metformin, glucovance, or whatever. And for a lot of patients, those drugs just don't make them feel that good. You know, so it's very interesting because I think there are a lot of people out there that are saying, yes, I want to get better, but you aren't getting it from your physicians. Because the whole model is to slow your progress to death. And I just can't practice that way. I love medicine. A lot of my doctor friends are looking forward to retirement because they're getting sick of it. I never see myself retiring because I love to see patients get better. And if they don't get better, I'll start looking at ways to do it. But it's basic medicine. I just spoke to a medical school recently, to a group of them, and I asked them, why did you go into medicine? Well, my dad was a doctor, and it's a nice life, and, well, it's not a bad way to make a living, or whatever. And I asked, did any of you go in because you'd like to get people better? Not a single one. Not a single one said, I'd like to go and get people better. I said, gee, am I the only one? So, it was very interesting. So I changed this lady, and a few months later, an extremely large health insurance company called me out of the blue. And they talked to me. I said, you know, I don't take insurance. Well, we want to make a deal with you, which is now illegal to do, but back then it wasn't. We've been watching you. And because a lot of our patients come see you, you save us a ton of money. You get the diabetics reversed So we aren't having to worry about neuropathy, amputating limbs, heart disease. So we will pay you more than any other doctor in the U.S. We will, since you are slowly growing your practice, we will build you a practice in 8 weeks. They gave me 600 patients in 8 weeks. The good patients that I wanted. Because you save us tons of money. So it's very interesting. The insurance companies are watching me and they knew what I was doing. And so the largest one said, yeah, we'll make a deal with you. Because the word gets around that you can get better. And when, my professor of cardiology says, no, John, it'll never work, they'll never follow it, that is not true. But diabetes 2 is a dietary disease. Hypertension is close by there, it's not 100%. GERD is basically a dietary disease. And you can reverse these chronic illnesses. Now, we're going to go to that was chapter 1. So we're going to go to chapter 2 now. And any of you familiar with Stiller and his model of death? Don't you guys do any reading or anything? All right. So Stiller is an anthropologist, and he made this death model. So 0 to 12 years of age, most deaths occur because of either a genetic problem at birth, and they die in that first 12 years, or an acute illness. Then 12 to about 40, most of the deaths are either suicide, an accident, something like that. And then 40 to 60, or till the day you die. 90, 120, whatever. It's called senescence. You familiar with it? All right. You want to explain what senescence is to everybody? Oh, you're just asleep. Not exactly, but there is some of that. All right. I'm going to spell it for you because this will be on the test. SENESCENCE. Senescence. So, most all deaths are senescent diseases. All your cardiovascular, diabetic, autoimmune, cancer, all the neurological, they're all senescent diseases. And here's what it means. All our cells have a certain number of divisions that they undergo before they commit suicide or apoptosis. So let's say it's 70 divisions. And on the 70th division, they stop everything. And they cease to exist, and then the new cell lines come in. In senescence, when you come to that 70th division, they keep going. And they produce what you call zombie cells. They're not well formed, they don't function properly, and they produce a tremendous amount of inflammatory substances. Now, if you have certain genetic genes that are off, and it's in the breast, it's called breast cancer. Or in the prostate cancer. All the cancers are senescent diseases. All the autoimmune diseases are senescent because the cells in the cartilage should have stopped dividing, and they keep going, and they make terrible inflammatory products, which eats away at the cartilage, RA. It eats away at whatever, lupus and some of the organs and all of that. Aging is senescence. You know, boy, I used to be able to play basketball all day, and now I play 20 minutes. I'm out of commission for a week. You know, I'm so out of it. It's all signs of aging. Fortunately, I have the last name of Young, so I am not going to have to go through that. So can't talk from experience. I'm sorry. 87 years old, I'm still fine. So UCLA did a study recently, and here's what they said. We realized in cancer is a genetic disease. The other thing we know is that, and they were dealing with ovarian and pancreatic cancer. The problem is when we tell people you can ring the bell, you're cured, they're really not cured. I've talked to Moffitt on this because you go to the oncologist and he kills your cancer cells, which is great. But they do nothing, and this is their exact words to me, we do nothing for the cancer tumor stem cells. Those are the ones that cause metastasis. So they were debating for about 2 years, do we tell these women that there's an 80% chance that your ovarian cancer is going to come back? And they debated 2 years, ethically, what should they do? And they finally decided to tell them. And the women said, thank you. Thank you for telling us that. Now, so they said, all right, what do we do? How do we kill those cancer tumor stem cells, which are the poorly formed genetic cells that are traveling through the body? So they discovered that part of the immune system, 20% of the immune system, is made of something called natural killer cells. Heard of it? All right. So what they did is they took umbilical cord natural killer cells and gave them to these patients. So in the leukemic patients, the 5-year survival went, I think, from like 20% to 70%. In some of the pancreatic and ovarian cancers and other stuff, it went to almost 94%. Because natural killer cells stop senescent cells. So I decided to try it on myself and 2 of my friends. One of them is my best friend Reno from South Africa, is a big tennis player. Terrible knees. So I gave him some in the knees. And then his girlfriend is a professional dancer. They do international dances and all that. From doing all the toe pointing, that right toe, big toe, is just deformed and arthritic. And she just kind of guts it out in these competitions. And then I had a little bit of basal cell carcinoma here and some arthritis in my hand. So I divided it up between Reno, his girlfriend, and myself. I checked in with Reno recently. Knees are just as good as can be. The girlfriend, the pain is almost gone. I can now move my toe. I haven't been able to move them in years. The basal cell carcinoma is gone in 2 weeks. The arthritis is fine. Because it's senescence. And what natural killer cells do is they stop senescent cells. Now, so in a way, it is anti-aging, you might say. I'm doing it for a number of my cancer patients. I'm doing it for my autoimmune patients. It is a little expensive. So there are some interesting drugs out there that act as anti-senetics. What the drug companies are doing is they're taking the natural killer cells and trying to combine them with a monoclonal antibody, because you can't patent natural killer cells, so they got to make money out of it. but so far that hasn't worked well for them. So one thing is some of my patients that just have very little money, I will put them on quercetin, 2 grams a day, and Fisetin, Fisetin. It's an herb, 4 grams a day. It's a senetic, stops senescence. And so it's kind of interesting to see how that's working on some of my patients. And then there's an old drug out there called rapamycin. And rapamycin is anti-senetic. And it doesn't mess up the GI flora, which is very good. And that also stops senescence. So I've got a muscular dystrophy patient on that. No, just on quercetin and Fisetin. And it's kind of interesting because a family came to me the other day and they said, he's now starting to be able to get out of the wheelchair. Because muscular dystrophy, if you break it down biochemically, is a genetic disease. But it's just really interesting in medicine, once you get out of this idea of I'm just going to slow your progress to death, to really go back to the basics and see that, you know, as someone said, John, you want to know where medicine's going to be in 25 years? Look at the biochemistry journals today because they're 25 years ahead of line. And the stuff that I learned was in 2010, 2011. And I talked to a doctor today and he had no idea about any of this, you know. All right, I have spoken enough. Are there any questions? Yes.
Wait till we get to a mic.
Oh, get the mics. Get the mics.
Who had a question?
The protein that's necessary for people who are trying to balance out the type 2 diabetes, how do they deal with that if they also have chronic kidney disease? I'm not supposed to have any protein or near none.
Okay. So I asked the National Kidney Foundation this question. And what did the National Kidney Foundation say to you? Take care of your diabetes first. Okay. So the National Kidney Foundation called me out of the blue and wanted to know, what are you doing? They called from Atlanta. What are you doing telling all these patients to take all this protein? Well, I'm telling them to take 1 gram of protein for every 2.2 pounds of body weight. Well, they seem to be okay with that. Then here's the question I asked them. Okay, so you're telling them don't eat protein because you see protein in the urine.
In the blood work, yes, not in the urine.
So wait, what did the blood work show?
I don't remember the numbers. I've got so many numbers to keep track of.
Okay.
But no, so far it's fine in the urine, but in my blood work, it shows that I have close to stage 4.
Okay. So what the Kidney Association said to me was, you can't eat protein because the protein damages the kidney. And one way you can tell is you can see the protein in the urine. I said, okay, that's a great idea. All right, I'll remember that. Let me ask you this. So if you see glucose in the urine, do you tell them to stop carbohydrates? Oh. We'll get back with you. That's been 12 years. I'm still waiting. That is completely stupid. I'm going to tell you why. If they drained kitchen sinks, they would have fallen through there. The problem is not protein. The problem is damage to the filter. That's where the problem is. So you need to repair that. I'm not saying large amounts, but you need some protein to repair anything. The other thing is chronic kidney disease is a genetic illness. So we do a lot of chronic patients. Very few of mine ever go to dialysis because you can make them better. So tell your doctor to go back to his first year biochemistry textbook. Read chapter 46 in Guyton and Guyton textbook of medical physiology, and it'll tell you exactly how to do that. It is not that difficult. But if you're looking at the pharmaceutical model, all they're doing is waiting for you to go to the ER in congestive heart failure because the money is in dialysis. And I know you're too young to understand that.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. So, but if you want to give us a call or talk to other doctors. But the medical model, pharmaceutical model, is slowing you until you get dialysis. That's what they want. And I'm saying you can reverse this stuff. All right. Next.
Are you, Dr. Young, in practice around here? And how many places, I believe in today's paper, there was a big ad for stem cells.
Okay. So I live in Seminole, suburb of St. Petersburg, so I practice down there. So, well, stem cells are interesting. I mean, I use a lot of stem cells. What is the stem cells for? Joints and all of that?
Whatever ails us. Yeah. I mean, you referred to many, many things.
Whatever ails you? All right. So, all right, when you're looking at stem cells, all right, stem cells were allowed by the FDA in 2015. I started using them in 2015. I was one of the first of 3 or 4 doctors to use them. I even wrote a book on what to do if you have a reaction and all that stuff. So everybody is into the joint stuff especially. But I said, so what if you do if the joint doesn't get better? Oh, we just tell them it's not 100%. You mean there's things to do, or you need to know enough to, if you're not better, why you're not better. If some of these places are using your own stem cells, at 60 years of age, you have 1 stem cell for about 3 million cells. At birth, 1 stem cell for 10,000. You don't have that many. The other thing is if you're sick, your stem cells are sick. And Duke University did that study. So, you know, I like umbilical cord. Embryonic is not allowed in the U.S. That's illegal. You can go to Mexico and get stem cells, but they let them divide out about 5 generations. Illegal in the U.S. because every time they divide, they can mess up and you get a genetic defect. So, you know, I like stem cells. You need to know a little bit more than just, well, here it is. You need to know what works best with them or how to get them in there. There's 5 of us that give the stem cells in a very unique manner through the peripheral branch of the vertebral vascular system. And that's why I'm getting ready to publish a paper I just wrote, Reversal of Lewy Bodies, Dementia, and Parkinson's. But that was with exosomes also. So, but, yeah. So those, I mean, people are doing that, but there's a lot more that, very few people are touching the nerve stuff because you have to know a little bit more biochemistry. And you can't just sit here, take this.
I was going to ask you, what is your source of stem cells?
Little gnomes from the Black Forest in Germany. 13 version. So the tissue banks control all the umbilical cord stem cells. I told the tissue banks that I wanted to make sure none of the cells that I got were from a vaccinated woman, COVID. And they laughed at me until a year ago. And they came back and said, John, you were right. Vaccinated women, their cord blood is terrible. So I don't know, but I know that the ones that I get, the tissue banks do put a special thing, non-vax, Dr. Young. So I don't know how they get that, but that's it.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
Several years ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, And the best I ever did was when I, for a couple of years, became a vegan, which was really difficult at the time because a lot of restaurants and other places it's hard to find. But when you talk about protein, I think most people think about meat.
Right.
And I remember eating a lot of kidney beans and, beans of all kinds. But would you,
So you can do it vegetarian-wise.
I'm sorry.
You can do it vegetarian-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some of my patients that I'll put them on a type of protein shake, and I'll use the vegan protein if they can't take, animal or whatever. You sometimes have to work harder at it, but you can do that. Yes, you can do that.
Yeah, all my lab work was great.
Yes. Yes, you can do it as a vegan.
Thank you.
All right.
I've been reading a lot about Sanjay Gupta. He has this remedy for neuropathy, brain. What am I thinking? I just text. In other words, he says that there's certain chemicals or whatever that are affected our brain, which causes dementia, and that if we take this honey. Have you heard anything about that? I mean, is there anything legitimate on that? Because
I don't know.
He's a
I mean, he
neurologist.
says, all I can say is this. So in UCLA, no, University of California, San Diego, what they did is they took 4 patients with Alzheimer's and they gave them BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor, all right? And they went in deep in the brain and put it into the hypothalamus, and 3 of the 4 reversed back to normal. Now, that's for research purpose only. That's a $50,000 procedure. Putting a needle deep into the brain. If you hit an artery, you've got about 6 minutes of life left in you. I wrote them and I said, listen, I did it for $6,300. I got the same results. Actually, I've done more patients than you, but they wrote me and said, never contact us again. We have our protocol. But I don't use brain-derived neurotropic factor because that's for research purposes only. But if you can get umbilical cord stem cells past the blood-brain barrier, which I know how to do, they make BDNF, which can make anything in the brain. And then Sloan Kettering at the same time in April came out with their 75% reversal of Parkinson's, but they put the BDNF in the substantia nigra and they reverted. I did the same thing and I did several more patients, but it's about 75%. And, but stem cells will make BDNF. You just have to know how to get it where you want to. But if the honey thing sounds pretty cheap and easy to me, try it. Try it. Try it. I would, listen, I don't know, trust me, and you can talk to my wife, I don't know that much. I especially don't know how to write certain articles. She writes them for me. But, listen, try this stuff. It's cheap and easy. Try it. Oh, yes.
So, what do you say when one kidney, stage 4, almost dialysis, severe lung disease, and AFib and congestive heart failure? What do you do with that?
All right.
We've been told there's nothing left to do, so he's having fun. Where do you begin there?
Okay, so what kind of, weren't you the guy playing tennis when I walked in? Oh, that was
He
not you?
used to play tennis.
Oh, all right. So what kind of lung disease do you have?
What's it called? Hydrostatic.
Okay, so what's happening in the lung is you're getting tremendous amount of fibrotic tissue because that stuff just, all right. In the kidney, what's the cause of kidney disease? Is it IgA, nephropathy?
Your kidney. Kidney cancer.
All right. So, I mean, what I would do? I mean, I do know because I've talked to people on this. I would give you natural killer cells for the cancer.
And that's going to kill him or is going to keep him alive?
No, natural killer cells. I just talked to a guy that he's treated 2 people recently or last several years with renal carcinoma, and it's been 3 years and they're still doing fine. But I mean, that came out of that UCLA study. The people you see are not going to be doing that because that is so far cutting edge that they're not going to be. They're going to do their protocols. Number 2, umbilical cord stem cells do revert scar tissue back to normal tissue. And I've done it with my patients. Severe COPD. I have a guy that's waiting, but University of Florida, he's came back from there today, won't let him do any stem cells. They put that in there, or else you don't get on the transplant list. But he's going down pretty quick, and he's hoping there's going to be some lungs available in the next couple weeks, I guess. But, I mean, that's just some options there. But, I mean, look up umbilical cord stem cells and fibrotic tissue.
How do you handle osteopenia, osteoporosis?
Okay. So what do they want to do for you?
Oh, reclass, Prolia, the whole list of them.
Okay. So the great thing about doctors today is it's called evidence-based medicine. Heard of that? They want to show us the evidence. And that's why I really like a lot of these doctors out there. So I'm the idiot that went up and looked at reclass. Anybody know the difference between absolute and relative risk reduction? You market a drug on relative risk reduction. I think the relative risk reduction for that drug is about 40%, 37, 40%. The absolute risk reduction is 2%. There's a 2% chance that drug's going to help you. All right? All of the osteoporotic drugs, it's 1 to 3%. But and I've talked to them, that's our protocol. And as long as they do a protocol, the chance of Morgan & Morgan calling on them is pretty small. So, for osteoporosis, I mean, you have a lot of options. One is, and I used a lady, she did gastric bypass years and years ago, and she's almost 80. So she reaches up the other day to get a glass on a shelf and broke off one of her vertebrae. Her bone, she says, I'm afraid to leave the house. I'm afraid to go. What if someone just bumps me? So I put her on low-dose human growth hormone because low-dose human growth hormone causes the bone to make more bone, but you still get rid of the old bone. All those drugs that you're talking about, they don't get rid of the old bone. That's why the side effects is fractured jaws and fractured femurs. The other thing is we do not have a good way of measuring the strength of bone. We put a light through it. Now, what's your name? Yeah. You aren't on any meds. You look fine. No, you can't be. Listen, your hair looks great. My rule of thumb, if your hair looks great, you can't be sick. So we're saying if light doesn't go through a bone, it must be brittle, right? We don't legally, in some CIA black sites, you can do something until you hear a crack. But even talking to the radiologists, they tell me, John, we calibrate that osteoporosis machine every day towards osteoporosis. It doesn't start at 0, it starts at 25. So So, you know, human growth hormone, low dose. You can do stem cells, but that's pretty expensive for that. You can also, any type of resistance training, even proper walking, swimming, stuff like that. But those drugs have never, and I would ask the doctor, why are you putting me on a drug that only has a 2% chance of getting me better? Inquiring minds want to know why. Let me know. Next.
What is a biologic?
That's so. Well, what I thought it was is really what not the drug companies think it is. But it's some of the new drugs that they're using, like for UC, and they. I'd like to work for a drug company and come up with the names that they come up with. I mean, Vivigio, Vivitrol, or whatever. But those are biologics. There's some type of, there is some hormonal aspect that's natural, but they're all highly put together.
Okay, my understanding was a biologic was made from something live, and it has to be injected. It can't be a pill, and it's supposed to be better than a pill?
That's not true because they're making them in pills now. But the other thing is, they do start from something live, but they're highly processed. And I've even talked to Merck Sharp and Dohme on their Keytruda, which is supposed to be a kind of a biologic drug, and they said, no, John, you're really right, but we could slip into that classification by doing certain things. But they're not true, as I would look at them, natural products. It's semantics.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none.
She had
Oh,
a
got one?
question there.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
If you want to go to a doctor that doesn't just give you pills, what kind of doctor is that? What is the, I mean,
I don't know. Well, you could go to a naturopathic doctor. I mean, I'm an MD, and I just decide that I want to actually get people better. So you might ask them, will you work with me or whatever? But I mean, doctors come and ask to study with me, and they think they can spend a week with me and figure this out. Listen, I'm up at 4 or 5 in the morning researching this stuff for years. So, but it's the medical training is just, it's all drug oriented. So you could talk to some homeopaths and whatever, but I don't know. All right.
Anyone else? Last chance. Okay.
This is the first time I've ever done this. Did I do okay?
Yes, you did great. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Okay, thank you guys for coming. We got donuts and coffee in the back, and hopefully we'll see you next month. Everybody be safe going home.